Peace and blessings, everyone. I'm Al, and today we're going to be talking about past life regressions. We're going to get right into it, but first I want to say this is a beautiful scenery that we have. It's nice and beautiful. I'm enjoying the sun as it goes down over the horizon, and yeah, figured it'd be nice to change things up a little bit, right? So, past life regressions. Where do I begin? So, I myself have had a past life regression. I've remembered a good number of my lives, probably about, let's say, I think 3. I can think of 3 that I've remembered, and this was due to me connecting with what is known as a QHHT Practitioner, and QHHT stands for Quantum Healing Hypnosis Technique, and it's an official technique that has been publicized by a woman called Dolores Cannon, and basically she's helped over 1,000 people. I'd say probably thousands by now. She passed away in 2014, but she's helped people with remembering their past lives for over 30 years. And you can look her up, Dolores Cannon, QHHT, Quantum Healing Hypnosis Technique. The reason why I started to find and do some research on QHHT, Quantum Healing Hypnosis Technique, is because I was becoming open to the idea of reincarnation. I was doing a little research on it. Some stuff seemed pretty valid, as well as, reincarnation being mentioned across cultures of all over the world, not just in India, but also in Native American oral traditions. It was reincarnation was originally in the Dead Sea Scrolls, if I last remember correctly, and it was edited out of the Bible, what we know as the King James Version Bible, interestingly enough. So anyways, I'm talking a lot. We are back here at the studio. It got really windy outside, so I don't want you guys to hear wind for the rest of the time. So anyways, QHHT. I was starting to look into QHHT and really sort of get really interested in, I was getting curious about it. And I wanted to really see if, there is something to past lives and reincarnation. So I decided that I would take the leap of faith and study it myself, either learn the craft or basically undergo a QHHT session and have past life regressions that way. And that's actually the route that I did. I did think about picking up as a skill, but maybe we'll get to there someday. So I found someone online, and it's actually really easy to do so. If you live in the United States, you can actually search for a QHHT practitioner in your area. And so once I found someone that, I thought would be a good fit for me, then basically it's about a 3-hour session to do the QHHT, 3 or 4 hours if you want to play it safe. And basically it's kind of like an extra step or a more advanced version of hypnosis. I don't know if you've ever gone hypnosis or you've ever been hypnotized. You've probably seen other people being hypnotized, but essentially, you go through a period where you relax, you kind of chill out, and they talk to you, they ask you questions, and eventually, it's all to essentially get to that subconscious mind, to take the conscious mind, right? Because the conscious mind loves to talk, blah, blah, blah. And the subconscious, it talks as well, but because the conscious mind is always in the driver's seat and it's very, very loud, you can't really hear the subconscious speak, So the point of this is to take the conscious mind, put it in the passenger seat, and, let the subconscious speak. And that's basically where the information comes from things like, past life regressions. So basically, to try to describe the experience, and one of the past life regressions that I want to talk about today is my the time when I lived as an old Chinaman and I died due to old age. And before I talk about what was going on, I just want to describe what it was like to have a past life regression, because I know you're probably curious about that. What is it like, So think of it like this. Say if you picture like a horse or an animal in your mind. Let's go with horse, right? In my mind, right, I can see a horse, I can see the outline, maybe the color, how big it is, how far away it is from me, right? And that's a thought, right? Well, even though that horse might not be physically there, that's sort of what I'm engaged with. So when it comes to having a past life regression, what that is like, instead of having the thought of a horse and you basically, bringing that image into your mind, instead what happens is these images come to you first without you engaging in them whatsoever, right? And it kind of feels like, for me, it felt like they were random thoughts. I hope I make sense. It felt like they were random thoughts that sort of came to me, but they became more crystal clear as the QHHT practitioner was really kind of, asking the questions and really sort of kind of bringing out this information of these past life experiences. And the cool thing about this is that I had more than one past life regression. I'm going to talk about the others in a different video, but one of the ones that I had was passing away, was pretty much breathing my last breath as an ancient Chinaman, and what I remember from this, right, was that I was short, right? I was short. I was much paler than this. One thing that I found interesting about past life regressions and reincarnations is that it doesn't really have any connection with race or lineage, from what I found. So I find that to be interesting. But anyways, so I was this short Chinese man. I wore I wore the robes. I wore the rice hat. I had a beard, kind of what you could picture in your mind. That's sort of what was going on. And I was really old, I was ancient, probably maybe 70s, 80s, maybe older. And it was at night. And this was at the countryside, and there's no technology, there's no buildings, there's no, crazy civilization lights to basically pollute the sky with light pollution, right? You can see everything. And that's what I saw on this last night. So as this ancient Chinese man, and when I say Chinese, right, technically you can just say Asian, but, it felt Chinese to me, just everything. So I'm this ancient Chinese man, and there's this path off to the side. If you knew about it, it's easily, you can easily find it, but it's not like a main sort of trail or anything. It's not a main road, it's just a little trail path off to the side. And it's late at night, and there's a bunch of foliage, kind of around the area, very green. It was beautiful. And I basically take a spot, I lay down, and I just look at the stars. You can see everything, all the different constellations. You could see the Milky Way, and it was really beautiful. It's like this, there was just so many dots in the sky that me and you don't normally see on a night-to-night basis. And as I'm looking up, I have this, I feel really content. I feel really fulfilled. It's kind of like, you ever had one of those days where you really just, everything was on point, everything went your way, you did a really good job, stuff like this. I felt like this as this Chinese man, but basically throughout my entire life, as this old gentleman, I felt like I was sort of just really at peace with myself, thinking about my life, what it is that I've done. I don't remember what I did or, what I was involved with, but I just remember being really calm and relaxed, just looking at the stars and just being happy with life. It was just this huge sense of serenity. I'm trying to find the word for it. I think serenity is a good word. And, I think I start to fall asleep under the stars, and I'm breathing really slowly, like in and out. And I guess I sort of knew my time has already come, because, I just felt really set and satisfied with life. I felt like my life was complete, and I was laying there, and I'm taking my deep breaths, and eventually I fall asleep. But when I fall asleep, that's when I passed away. I died in my sleep as this ancient Chinaman. And interestingly, part of this life regression was as I died, basically looking at the stars, you know, falling asleep, I had an out-of-body experience where my body rose because I was laying on my back. My body rose and turned down to look at my own ancient body. And I got to see what I looked like. That's how I knew like what I was wearing, what my facial hair looked like. And I remember I looked at that and I felt pretty good. You know, I didn't feel sad. I didn't feel like I was going to miss out on life. I felt like this is good. You know, that's basically like the only phrase I can really say to describe it. You know, it was good. This is great. I feel good. I feel content. I'm glad I had this experience. That's what I thought when I was looking at my old body, you know, through this past life regression. And, you know, which is like, how do I say this? You know, it's not as crazy as people think, you know. When it comes to these spiritual things, these supernatural things, it's like I get and understand why this stuff can be hard to accept as a possibility, you know, just the way with kind of how things are framed, you know, in the modern world. But, you know, one thing that I always say to myself is that, you know, in order for you to really know for sure, you have to prove it to yourself whether this is true or not. And that's what I do. That's sort of what I live by, you know. If I don't prove it to myself, then I can't say for sure whether it's true or it's not true, you know. And upon studying reincarnation, kind of really getting a feel that there's a strong potential for it to really be a thing, and then kind of looping that with, you know, past life regressions and actually having that experience, you know, that's kind of where the development really comes from. You know, it's not just believing in something blindly and then, you know, making that your truth. You know, it's all about hearing something, researching something, thinking about it, contemplating it, and then really investigating it and making it a truth. You know, is it true or is it not true? That's, you know, that's sort of my mentality when I work within the realms of all things spirituality, you know. And I think that it's important that I also say that anything that, you know, I say or someone else says, like, don't take it, you know, take it with a grain of salt, because you never really know. Again, you have to prove these things for yourself in order for you to really, really know and understand. So that's, you know, that's just something that I kind of always feel like, and I feel like it's especially important for something like this. It's really out of the ordinary for average or common conversation, but it's something that, you know, given the opportunity, I would talk about all the time. You know, we talk about all things spiritual here. So, and I have a couple other experiences that I remember as well. You know, I was an immigrant from the Middle East that traveled to the United States, and I had my own business. You know, I'll talk a little bit about that and my third past life regression in another video. You know, I think that this is pretty good where we are right now. So yeah, so with that being said, I hope you enjoyed this video, and be sure to leave a like if you like this video. If you haven't already, join me on my spiritual journey and subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to click that bell icon so that you are notified every time I push out a new video, which is every Wednesday and every Sunday throughout the week. Thank you very much for watching, and in my native tongue I say, ha home.